Oh, hello. Hey, hello everyone. I hope I'm live and everybody are able to hear me. Welcome to day one of TestMu Conference 2026. Uh, we are live. We had two, three great sessions just before, and we have a very action-packed uh, sessions lined up for you today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow. We are recording all these sessions, so if after the fact you want to check out these sessions, they are available. You can come into the Zettel platform, see able to see these sessions, but at the same time we'll post about these in our YouTube channel later. But at the same time, feel free to shout your appreciation. If you like the sessions, talk about it over LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you are. Tag us, and use the hashtag TestMuConf, and we'll follow so that the rest of the community can follow along. So, yeah, welcome to the session today. So, we are going to talk about something that is pretty unique, by the way, and it's not just unique. I feel that this is going to be the next era of customer facing AI agents. So we are obviously everybody has seen used AI agents. May have talked with those AI agents as well over your phones or as a customer chat bots, chat support. But there's new thing that is coming about. That is how to test the AI agents that have a face. So we have video AI agents that are coming up, becoming part of customer facing things like triaging patients, they are onboarding customers, they are live, they are on camera, talking with customers, acting as a gateway to your business. And what happens if that go wrong? And that is what we're going to discuss today. So I have Srinivasan Sekhar and Sai Krishna, both directors of engineering at TestMu AI, and they're going to talk about how to test agents that can look you in the eye. Now, if you don't know them, they have been pretty popular in our ecosystem. They have been around giving quite a lot of talks, but most importantly, they are the people behind the frameworks we use every day. Appium, Selenium, WebDriver.io, and a lot more. They are one of the most uh, active open source contributors across the testing ecosystem. And now they're also working on how to test the AI agents themselves. So we'll give you a complete end-to-end demo of a running AI agent live, talking, interacting, that, and then talk about how we're going to test them, right? So, Sai, Srini, over to you.
Thanks, Mudit. Thank you, Mudit. Thank you for a very warm welcome. Hey, everyone.
Hi everyone.
It's good to be here, and this is the fifth time we are in TestMu.
Yep.
TestMu is turning 5, and we are here even before we are a part of the organization. Thank you for coming and joining our session. Today we are going to, talk the challenges that we have faced and what we have built so far in the world. Mudit, thank you so much for the introduction. You like sort of told very sweet things about us. So we're going to skip this intro because Mudit fairly covered all of it. Those are my QR codes. You can scan them, get in touch, so we can talk a lot about things, just not agents, just not testing. Could be anything. So me and Srini are fun to hang out as well. So you could connect us on LinkedIn, and you could see a lot of our works over here. So without further delays, I think we can jump into the session, right, Srini? So let's take it this way, right? I think until yesterday, it was more of applications like websites, mobile apps, where everything is basically more where you start to click, you try to find some elements, and then you go ahead and perform some exploratory testing around it. And we had that website world, right? And of course, there are a lot of automated tools. Every day we see a lot of new automated tools even in the AI space, right? So, and I think me and Srini being open source contributors for close to a decade, so we have seen how open source communities have sustained around automating these web pages, which is more like a deterministic approach, right? And then moved into the second phase where we got a lot of agents, which is like more like a chat agent, and we had voice agents, we had phone caller agents, and we had WhatsApp agents. So a lot of agents came into play, and there are a lot of other, multi agents as well, right? More like sub agents, right? And of course, they're not customer facing. And this is something that we spoke last year when we were in TestMu AI, and we spoke about how these eval systems can help us to see whether these agents are behaving good in nature, and whether they are good to go live, right? On a similar lines, because we covered all of these agents, I think there was one more agent which is pretty unique, which started to come into the space. And like Mudit said, a lot of people are started to build things around it, which is the video agent, right? And video agent is so much different from any of these other agents that we see from a conversational perspective, because video agents just don't talk. And there are a lot of things that is tied to a video agent, like an avatar, the expression, the sentiments to it, right? And that's when we were thinking, like, how do we want to evaluate these kind of agents when someone is building them, right? Because at TestMu, what we basically do is, if there's anything that is going to help our customers and the community, so we want to see what is the best solution that we can bring out over there, right?
Absolutely.
Right. And on that lines is, that's where when we sort of saw what could be one of the problems that is going to take time for the customers, right, or to the users. I mean, we did a very rough math when it came to the spaces. Let's take one scenario. I'm just taking very very basic one scenario. Of course, we're not going to end with one scenario. They're going to be bunch of scenarios that we're going to test, right? It could be a happy path, it could be a negative path. Red teaming is very very much important. So we'll talk about all of those different types of scenarios later on, but at least for now, when we sort of have one scenario, and when it comes to these kind of agents, right, so it's just not like one scenario and one run. You basically need to run that one scenario against different personas, right? And different personas, gender, avatars, right? And at the same time, you basically don't run them once, but you run them like multiple times to see how these agents basically behave in their nature, right? And now, if you do a rough math, you would see how many hours that we are burning over here just for that one scenario, right? And let's say, even if we say that I'm good, I can still do that, I don't mind spending that time. But there are also so many other cases, right, where, I mean, how can I get those 10 to 15 different personas in nature, right? I can't go hunt them, I can't replicate them in nature as manual exploratory testers, right? So how do we touch base those accents, different personas, and stuff, right? So that is the complex part which comes into play. It's not about one scenario and the same scenario against 10 different personas. How do you want to bring them into the entire space, right? So Srini, with all of these problems that we're looking to see, how do you think we can automate the human, right? Because here it's an agent who's coming into play, and it's a human on the other side. So
Yeah.
how can we automate the human over here, Srini?
I think if there is one way to evaluate a conversation or test a conversation, is probably to have one.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, basically automate the human instead,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, as you rightly said, there is facial expressions, and there are a lot of aspects and nuances towards it. It's, as Mudit also rightly said, it's a next generational voice agent with avatars, expressions, lip sync, for examples, right? So there is a lot of tiny details behind the scenes that plays a vital role when it comes to video agents having a conversation with the humans. It needs to understand geography, ethnicity, and other complexities that you mentioned about different personalities as well, right? So of course, having one conversation will definitely not enough. The complexity keeps growing, and the thing that you need to build is not actually a test script here, and it should be actually a candidate which wears all these hats, personalities, and it could be different avatar faces, lip syncs, expressions, and languages, dialects inside a language, and a lot of these aspects comes in place as it is built on top of voice agents, right? So as this all of these options come in place, it's also important to understand this complexity and see how we could navigate when we are building these agents or building these candidates, right? So three layers to this is, one is avatars, which is swappable, and two is the core part, which is the brain that we have built, which thinks, reasons, understands, and acts on its own to build that next turn in a conversation. So which is going to play a vital role because it needs to understand the facial expressions. It also needs to understand the lip sync, what it is hearing, language, dialects, and so on. Luckily, we have been working on voice agents for more than a year. So there are a lot of bits that we are seeing that it is improving in in voice agent space when it comes to models that are available in market and architectures that are evolving on voice agent side. So this really helps. And adding that complexity on top of it is the facial expressions, lip syncs, what's the background nature of it, and so on, right? So now the agents are not just having ears, it's also having eyes to it. And the turn taking is going to be built on near real time. As soon as it hears, it needs to perceive, understand, and also act on its own to build the next turn, so that it sounds natural to a human. So it speaks out as well. And the third part of this layer, which is basically the browser, where users can go ahead and join the particular link, and which is basically has a camera and mic associated with it, right? So what we do is also the fake camera and mic associated, so that the human candidate is replaced by a TestMu AI candidate wearing all these complexities in place. Right.
But Srini, before that, right? I mean, the very interesting point over here is when you spoke about the brain over here, which perceives and makes a decision, it starts to act, right? Since you're talking about the interview angle of, as an agent, which is fairly being used much in the industry, right? So I'm just starting to think here is, so let's say now, from an interview perspective, round one is being evaluated in our system, right? For whatever scenarios. I won't go there right now. But let's say now the round two comes, the candidates, like, you've been moved to a round two when the interview agent comes into play for the round two. So which means there are also red teaming. One way of, I could say, one scenario of red teaming can be like, it can identify if there's a different avatar and say that, hey, you are not the person who came in for the first round of the interview, it's someone else, right? So, and that requires that memory, right?
Yes.
So does that brain also hold that memory, so that people will know a brain which does not just decides, acts, and just forgets, but also keeps things in its memory?
Very true. I think this brings me back to 2020 days, where I used to hear a lot of stories where candidate one was different and candidate two was different, who is attending screen one and screen two for similar positions or the same position, right?
Yeah.
So of course, memory plays a vital role, and memory doesn't just keep what happened in the first round. It also keeps the video evidences in terms of who has actually attended it, and what kind of persona he or she who took that interview, and what's the output of those interviews that's being evaluated as well. This plays a vital role in terms of judgments that carries.
I mean, that's very important, right? Because if that memory is not carried forward,
Yeah.
especially for these kind of agents, I think that's a tricky angle there.
Very true.
For it to go back, think, and see where it stands today, right? I think there's another thing that mostly, we get asked when we take these kind of stuff to our customers is, hey, I mean, this all look cool, but how does your agent like sort of come in, try to connect or talk to our agents, right? This is one of the common factors and one thing is, whenever we say that, hey, you need to do some code changes at your site, or probably there needs to be some test hooks that we will tell you and you need to trigger, I think that's a space that we have massively seen, that hesitation. Why should I make some changes to make things workable from an evaluation angle, right? And that's where our approach is more like any joinable URL links that you have where your video agent is hosted. I mean, I can give some examples here, right? It could be Zoom, it could be Google Meet, it can be also very recently WhatsApp came up with calling. That could be one. Anything else comes to your mind? Anything, right?
That is
So
joinable through a
yeah.
website.
And we don't ask, make or inject some JavaScript or inject some modules into your stuff so that we can connect and leverage. So we don't do that. So it's pretty much no SDK, no test hooks, nothing to change, right? And we just come as a a customer who would be reaching your agent, right? As interview agent, any agent that has a face, we pretty much just come in just as a third person there. And I think Srini, I think we've been talking a lot about agents, how it is, what we have done. Why don't we see something in action and look through it, right? I think when we started off today, this is something that always happens between me and Srini, and I really wanted to, show this as a recorded demo mainly for one fact is because the demos are always very dangerous, right? Especially live demos. But Srini is like, no, I think we have to go with a live demo. So I said, okay, I'm gonna, because we both couldn't come into a conclusion. So I want to hear it out from people over here to see if we want to do a live demo or we want to like sort of take the recorded way, and I want to see how many people stand by me so that we can go ahead and show some very cool recording, okay, that we have.
Cool. Leave us your
Right.
thoughts on the engage portion.
I'm looking at it.
Cool. Quite a few on live. Okay.
Okay, so as usual, no one wanted to take my side of, showing a very, very cool recorded demo. So given that a lot of people would want to go with a live demo, Srini, maybe we can
Cool.
go
Let's
with
switch
live.
to the live demo.
Yeah.
So here's how our platform looks like. And our platform is available not just in this user interface, we have it available in CLI and MCPs as well. So, the user interface is quite simple. So we need to have enough context about what is the agent supposed to do and not supposed to do, which eventually lies in system prompt, be it any agent, be it chat agent, voice agent, video agents, and so on. So provide us as much details as possible, and the details can eventually be in system prompt. And of course, it's not possible to add as much context as possible as through system prompt. So you might have a video recording, audio recording, talks about what is your agent supposed to do, what kind of geography it acts upon, what kind of people it is having a conversation with. And it could be any purpose. It could be a conversational video interview agent, or it could be a sales agent, for example, or it could be a healthcare onboarding agent. So whatever information that our users have, so we accept it in any forms that we have it applicable here, and we use these information as context distributed across these files to generate scenarios. Our scenarios carries a vital information, but before that, the way we allow our customers to generate scenarios is generate as many scenarios as possible. Again, it can be on any categories. So it could be happy path. It could also be the red teaming that scenario that you have talked about, right? In case if you have to poke in and share a particular scenario, you can also add as much context as possible through the special instructions. So our agent is smart enough to generate scenario, and we do a lot of heavy context engineering behind the scenes. It's not just that upload it in any model and generate scenarios out of it. We do heavy context engineering to ensure that we bring valuable scenarios out of it, right? So some of these scenarios that we have generated now, each of these scenario will eventually carry a description or a goal associated with, and it also talks about some other characteristics in terms of who has to speak first or initiate the conversation first. And we also provide expected output, which is the validation criteria. It could be who has to greet and how it has to be greeted, as much details as possible. We also bring human in the loop, where customers or users can actually add their own criteria as well. So another important aspect is the personas. The personas can be anything, and it can also, we allow customers to provide their own personas too, right? So this carries the vital information of what's the goal of scenario, right? So once we have scenarios in place, so we create a suit, and this suit will carry a vital information which Sai has talked about, right? So the complex matrix that you described, which is 7.5 hours for a scenario, which has different personas, different test data. For example, the persona can be anything, and each of these persona will eventually trigger as much sessions as possible, right?
And also avatars.
So these avatar faces are actually also available. Each scenario can also be evaluated for different avatars, and we can also associate a test profile. Test profile is basically providing
like test
any
data,
kind
right?
of test
Yeah,
data.
test data.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the scenario can carry these test data during the conversation on its own. And we are also building a lot of connectors, so it can connect to your data sources on the fly as well, right? So let me trigger one scenario. And before that, so we have an demo agent, which is built using TrueGen, which is a video interviewer agent. And the agent has a face, voice, and it has been given a lot of instructions behind the scenes, and we have built it using True Agent. And any video agent that can be joined through WebRTC, for example, can be utilized. So I'm just giving here and giving some name. We have a lot of avatars, voices, and how long we wanted the session length to be. I'll quickly trigger a scenario. So let it go behind the scenes. And this is how it happens. So we run these scenarios inside our platform called Hyper Execute, which has the capability to run any kind of scenarios, be it voice agents or chat and so on, for example, right? So let this run behind the scenes. It may happen for a couple of minutes. In the meantime, we'll see one of the scenario where we have run this on August 17th. We did run a few today as well, right? So the avatar that you see here is the one that is actually our TestMu AI agent.
Backend systems. Here with 5 years of
you. To start, please introduce yourself.
I'm a software engineer with 5 years of experience, focused on backend systems.
Thank you. Could you tell me about your experience?
I've worked on scalable cloud platforms and performance optimization for data services. My main languages are Python and Go.
Great, thank you. Finally, what would you say is your biggest strength?
My ability to solve complex technical problems quickly and efficiently. I deliver high-quality code.
Thank you for sharing that. We'll be in touch soon regarding the next steps.
Goodbye.
Cool. Here's a short snippet of the recording which has actually happened. And the similar conversation is actually running behind the scenes as well. So once the conversation is done, we could actually see the conversation and hear as well how does both the avatars have exchanged towards a common goal for this particular scenario, right? So once this is done, we also provide the complete transcript of the conversation on its own. Our agent is smart enough to understand, think, reason, and act based on all the information which user has actually provided. And the important part comes after this is basically the evaluation, right? So the scenario has a goal associated to it. So we will figure out whether the goal has been reached as part of this evaluation or not. And as you might have seen, each and every scenario carried a validation criteria, right? So we can see if these criteria have been fulfilled, right? So agent greeted the candidate and initiates the session. We also have evidence whether the agent has actually greeted or so on. So likewise, all those validation criteria are actually evaluated through our evaluation engine. And we also provide quite a few matrices which talks about conversational flow. The agent maintained an excellent communication, and during each of these turns, it's not a single turn evaluation. For this multiple turn video evaluation, whether it has maintained the conversation throughout the throughout the flow, right from beginning to the end, or it has actually deviated, whether there is any context drift or not as well, right? Next is question handling capability, response quality, and avatar presentation as well, right? So these all gets evaluated for this particular session, and I think there is one that is already running. That's quite a lot about how does the evaluation happens behind the scenes for a particular conversation. The same conversation, same scenario can also be evaluated for different permutation combinations as well, right? So Sai, since we have been building this for quite some time now, so is there any challenge that comes to your mind on top of it? What was the hardest part? I'm sure quite a lot of people would have seen the lip sync part. So apart from lip sync, is there anything that comes to your mind that actually took some time for us?
Yeah, absolutely, Srini. I think one of the biggest problems that we had, guys, is about this entire lip sync angle. And also, if you would have seen when these two agents like sort of have that conversation, they're pretty smooth in nature, right? I mean, there's no delays. And you can very clearly see what they are. The handoffs are pretty clean now, right? So getting that fine-tuning angle, especially on the lip sync, was the toughest part. But also tell you there were other angles that we have sort of learned when we got through this audio aspect of it, right? Because from when it comes to this entire audio angle, it's all about numbers, right? And what you see on the screen from a RMS, that's the root mean square, right? Is just a measure of how much sound is in the clip. and at the same time, zero means silence, right? And that's something that we thought zero means to be silence. But a normal speech is a few thousands, right? Like how you see from a like that number that we have given, and if you have to convert that to a decibel factor, it's going to be roughly, as a human when we speak, it's going to be roughly somewhere between 15 to 34, so in between lines, right? And this is that 0.2 actually is not meant to be quiet, and that's exactly, it took so much time for us to like sort of go back and debug and figure that out, because what that means to us over there is, that point to what you see is basically not a silence for us there, right? There's something behind it.
So can I say this as silence is not a failure always?
Absolutely, right? Because when we look through it, hey, I mean, the actual interview agent asked a question and there is a silence with the user. So does that mean that, I'm building that entire voice agent and falling apart, right? No, absolutely not. And yeah.
And the failure can also be anywhere. It could be the browser that is rendering. It could be the actual agent which is not responding.
Absolutely, right? Because a browser is not bothered decoding the audio. I mean, that nobody even is listening to, right? Absolutely, Shni. That's another angle to look through, right? And that's when, the next thing that became is that the entire three points that we're looking at, right? As an agent, the agent is too eager. Someone like the persona, right? Maybe someone's like, interrupting, or he's an anxious person who just wants to keep talking, right? And now there's always an overlap or a clash, right? And I think most of us would have had this, when we are on some bad video call, there's always step overs, right? And mostly it happens to me, even when I'm talking, there's a lot of step overs that I see when, we are on, these Zoom calls and Google Meets and stuff happening, right? So we need to teach that skill to these machines, right? When you look at these 3 bars, Srini, it's like, if our candidate is like too eager, right, it talks over the interviewer, right? So there's that overlap, that's an interruption happening over there. If it's too patient, right, now what happens is there's a dead air, right? Because they speak and there's a silence there, okay? And the interviewer starts to say, hey, take your time, no problem, I mean, it's okay, you don't be nervous, right? So you see that that fillers that the actual agent comes into play, right? So it's like where one machine politely tells the other one, right? I think these are the places that, we took a lot of offbeat and we had to like look through, tune it, make our agent also cater to these kind of scenarios to see whether the actual agent under test is like sort of, coming back with these kind of, aspects, right? And that was one of the angles which was pretty tough as well to look through. So, and also over this period, folks, we learned that, silence is not the end of the turn, right? It's just a comma, right? Because there's going to be a silence because it differs from persona to persona. And there's going to be something coming into it, right? So definitely, there's going to be something after that. So it's not like a complete dot angle too, right? It's
true.
Yeah.
I think we all would have joined the Zoom call saying, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Can you hear me?
And sometimes like, I'll be on mute most of the times and people like, you're actually on mute, right? But yeah. But actually, apart from all of this, right? So we saw very cool stuff of the demo. We're talking about some of the problems that we took a lot of time to find from our side and to fix it. What are the other measures or metrics that is very important for us to measure as well, and which we have in our system?
Right? So since we have been working on voice agents for more than a year now, so I think last year when we launched voice agent evaluation, probably we had 2-3 metrics, and now it's good. Probably we had 15 plus matrices, including mean opinion score that we have recently added, right? So the complexity actually grows when it comes to video agents, because the avatar presentation, which plays a vital role. How does the lip sync looks like? What does the facial expression looks like? What's the audio, whether it is matching that audio and video, right? And next is the quality of the conversation. So if there is too much overlap and if the answer is not relevant, there is a context shift, for example, right? So that's also another place where we have added added as much details as possible. Next is the question handling. So was the actual job of the conversation is actually done. And next is the conversation flow on its own, the turn taking aspects, spacing over a longer time. Let's say I've been having a conversation, but if the intent has been misinterpreted, right? Or the goal of the conversation itself has been drifted after having a lot of conversation, right? So main goal of the conversation probably would have started something, but as we speak, probably the drift of the goal would have actually happened. It could be because of our agent, it could be because of actual conversation, agent under evaluation as well, right? So that could also be one of the red teaming scenario, which we eventually have, right? So the four scores that we explain explains the result, but the actual criteria decides it here, right?
And also, really on that, because I know initially when I started off with red teaming, and you also brought this entire red teaming angle, and I think this is the space where it can be from our side also, right? It's going to be an intentional drift that we want to see how the video agent on the other side, the interviewing agent, is going to handle it, right?
Yes, very true.
So we will intentionally do the drift because we are the ones who's going to evaluate.
Yes.
Right. Okay, got that.
Yeah. So also, let's say if I have been given a video and a conversation in that video, and if you would ask me to write what is good about this particular conversation, I'm sure eventually we would all started with whether the agent is friendly. Is it showing empathy, and is the interview is a very good interview on its own, the conduct was good or not, right? Whether the interviewer, the actual agent is able to handle difficult conversation with the customer or the candidate in itself, right?
Yeah.
So it is applicable for any kind of video agent, be it sales, be it interviewer agent, be it a human, for example, onboarding agents as well, right? Where the conversation actually ends well in a very good note. So we all would have started this, but the observability factor here plays a vital role. Ideally, it should be in a detailed path whether the agent has actually greeted me on the camera within the simulated seconds, right? Stipulated seconds. So whether the role related questions were relevant, so the relevancy and quality of the conversation. So if there is a drift, it re-engages me after one word answers or not, right? Explains what's the next step after ending, right? So if you couldn't confirm it by watching, I'm sure neither it can be the grader as well, right? So
yeah, I think on those lines, I mean, we're talking about different personas, folks. This is also very important that like how Srini was showing about the permutations and combinations that we like sort of do is we want to bring in different personas, different dialects, different gender, right, into it, and run multiple scenarios around the agent to see how it would basically behave, right? Because one conversation, if we say that, hey, I ran one, it actually worked, absolutely no, because you only run the same conversation multiple times and multiple conversations with different personas and stuff, because they're going to fall apart. We know for a fact that we have seen that the same scenario against a specific persona who's going to be very direct, right? Like yes, no, and we have seen agents falling apart in those angles. So at least run it multiple times. The evaluation needs to happen multiple times, and look through that, and you will definitely find some of these real issues up, seen surfacing up when that is basically happening. So we basically do that as well, and we give the flexibility, to make sure that we stress out your agent, we stress out, who's on the other side with multiple of these aspects. Right.
So I would like to also share about some of the things that we are actually working on next as part of
Yeah, absolutely, Srini. Right now, when we see, Srini was talking about anything that is accessible through a URL, right, which is through WebRTC, is something that we can connect and we can start to evaluate from a video aspects, right? So what are we trying also to do is, try to come into the entire app space, which is you have a Zoom app installed, so our agents can join the Zoom, right? Just like how we would join the Zoom app. So we're going to try to come into the different apps like Teams, Microsoft, Google Meets and WebEx. So right now everything's in the browser, but we want to come into the native app spaces. And also one of the important other aspects is we want to bring different, like an environment when we try to evaluate this, where we want to bring different backgrounds, right? And when I say backgrounds, let's say, for example, I can think of as our agent in the video when you saw, our agent was there just with a pretty plain screen, right? But now the next angle comes is what if there are people moving around in the office, and then how basically things would, whether it's going to pick them or it's going to talk, it should be there, right? And And also on the other angle is about crowded rooms, interruptions, and your agent speeds that you can basically like sort of connect. That's very important. And also, from a red teaming, if you look through, it could be the other way around, is more about how we can think is hey, you have like two people sitting in that interview, and how would the actual agent under test look through it, right? Is it going to stop and interrupt and say that, hey, you know what, we are basically going to stop this because I was expecting only one person to be there, but we have to. Right? Something on those. So we want to scale up and work more on these integrations and also a lot of these red teaming conditions as well. Right.
Cool. I think the few more things that to take back in terms of for our audience is also like how do we test it like a real person would, right? So what good looks to be, right? So before you run it, of course not after that. Before you run it, write down what good looks like eventually, and as to see the moment, basically timestamps. Was there any jumps on that? Run it more than once, as you rightly said, in terms of complexity. And we also should count on the bad days too. It could be nervous people, rude people, silent people having a conversation, whether the agent has actually showed empathy towards the conversation as well, right? A small pack every release. Of course, we won't be able to run everything, but of course, it is possible through our platform. We should be able to run across different complexities, personalities, avatars, voices, and so on, right? So try it out and let us know. Feel free to share your feedback.
That's much that we wanted to share today, folks. Thank you so much for being here and listening to what we had to share. And thank you so much. You can pick any questions if we have.
Thanks, Srini and Sai, for walking us through the platform, the insights you have shared. I think we have a few good questions over here. We do have a lot of questions. I think if time permits, we'll be able to take a few of them. Let me kind of put these on screen. So chaos engineering, it's also one of the things that we hear quite a lot about in a lot of conferences. But how do you think this thing kind of applies in a different modality of, let's say, video vision that we're talking about?
So as soon as we bring noises, different backgrounds to a conversation where there is multiple peoples behind you, and having the conversation behind, which adds noise to the conversation, how well your voice activity detection of those agents looks like, whether it is picking me or picking behind the scenes the conversation. So that's amazing. That's where something that's been there on voice agents and phone caller agents already. So that plays a vital role and bringing chaos to the conversation.
That definitely makes sense. We have another question by Emma. And also pretty interesting because we have been talking about video agents, and there is a new, because it's a completely new modality as well. So, and adds more challenges. So, things like nodding, looking attentive, all of those are, I'll say, signs of a actual person interacting, or because you were talking about an interview agent, right? So, how do we kind of notice these kind of discrepancies, these kind of aspects of a video that we are testing?
Yeah, actually, those are the some of the metrics that would differ from from a phone or a phone caller agents to videos, and those are some of the metrics that we will also bring into play, right? For example, eye blinking, right, and expressing that sentiments on the call. So nodding, very good example, right? And the way we evaluate over here is. Since it's a video agent, our evaluations are actually happening against an entire video, right? So which means when we evaluate based on those criterias also. So definitely those are some of the metrics that we will be bringing in soon as well.
Hello?
Yeah,
we can hear you.
Oh, I think, yeah. Let me see, able to bring them back. Hey, Srini Sai, are you back?
Yes.
We'll be able to see you.
Yep. I hope
I
you
think
can
you guys are on mute.
nope.
No, can you hear us now?
Can you hear us?
Yes, yes, yes.
Good. Yeah. Do we have time for one more question, Mudit, or?
Yes, yes, yes. I think we have one more time. Next time speakers mute their WhatsApp notification. Thank you for that reminder. Yes, we didn't test it for that. Let's see. There was a pretty cool question related to speech to text, LLM, text to speech, the overall delay, right? I think there's another question related to that as well. So there's a loop that is happening in the models that we are using specifically for video, and that's another factor of video generation itself as part of the latency, right? So when we were building this, what was the challenge that you find? Like what actually added to the bottlenecks in the overall latency, the performance of the agent?
So some of the challenges where I think it's there are a lot of models available to generate videos, but live agents are a different on all of its own, because there is going to be a voice generated and it has to be in real time, and there shouldn't be any delay, and also according to the sound, we also should show expressions, lip sync. So I think these are the complex part when it comes to video agents on its own, right? So those were the complexities that we had to deal with, and yes, we were able to crack it.
Yeah, and to answer another unfold of the question is, we don't take this route of speech to text, LLM, and text to speech. So we don't do that. If that jump is there, definitely there's going to be a delay, but we have not taken that route.
Nice, that's awesome. I think I really like this another question as well. Let's talk about accessibility. So we talked about video, audio, but while doing a video agent, one cool thing that we are able to do that we can do interact in, let's say, sign language. Have we tried that? Is our video agent able to kind of detect and kind of figure it out, the sign language?
I mean, as a Mudit, the answer is no. But I'm just getting this notification, so I can't see who asked this question. But whoever asked this question, thank you so much. We haven't thought of that, to be very frank. That's going to be a feature that we can add. But even hearing that question itself is so cool. But I think it's a very need of the hour. So we'll definitely, include that. Thank you so much.
We have a new feature that came in your pipeline because of this. Cool. We are seeing a few questions here related to certifications. Yeah, like whoever are attending the conference, we are releasing certifications. We also have a certification marathon kind of thing happening where we are kind of giving certification across frameworks as well. Also, these sessions are recorded, so you will be able to check them out later as well. I think we have 2 minutes left. Let me see a pretty cool question. Yeah, let's see this pin on screen. So we talked about generating scenarios, and of course the video can have a few nuanced more set of scenarios. So now we know we have these kind of capabilities where we take in the context or company-wide context and use that to spin up scenarios at scale. But when we're talking about video agents, that's a new modality. So that means the scenario generation are also a little bit of has to be a little bit nuanced as well. So how are we tackling that part?
Yep, definitely an important portion when it comes to the scenario generation, right? So scenario generation for a conversational chat agent is completely different from a voice agent on its own, because we have to add different languages, dialects, geographies in place, and so on. Likewise, video brings its own scope in terms of ethnicity, different. I think one of the beautiful question was also about accessibility, right? So, I mean, these aspects are really important for us. We did baked in as much guardrails as possible when we are dealing with these scenario generation, and multiple grader agents behind the scenes to ensure that there is no context drift that happens from what we have received from the actual users of its own as well. Right. So we might be generating a lot, and we have also added those video aesthetics to it. How does the conversation, how does the expressions should look like as well as part of facial expressions, which is another vital role, like blinking an eye, and nodding your head, for example, and so on. So those have also been added as part of the scenario generation, and sometimes as part of validation criteria as well as part of the scenario.
Yeah. And also on the scenario generation angles, right? Keeping all of this context is something that's very important. So in and around the context that has been shared, and also like how Srini said, with respect to what it means to us. So we are not going to like randomly generate something. Hey, can you tell me what is the cricket score for today's match, right? So we'll definitely not do that, of course, because everything is evolving around that. So yes, we will basically try to cover a lot of the scenarios on every point that the context is given, and also on the specific domain that we have actually tuned it on.
Awesome. So, right on time. We are also just 1 minute more, so not going to take more time. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We still have a huge number of really great sessions lined up. Feel free to check those out. Srini, Sai, thank you for taking time out, showing us what you're building. Really cutting edge, cool stuff, and looking forward to next of your sessions on this. I guess you guys also have a workshop where we're gonna hear more from you tomorrow, right? So thank you everyone for joining in, and have a rest of the great day.
Thank you,
Thank
you,
you
Mudit.
all.
Thank you, everyone. See you all. Have a good one.